How is everybody doing? My name is Keagan Jewell, and I am with the Hope Project. I am in charge of our Monday motivations, which is the posts we may have every now and then for just motivation on a Monday, or specifically the podcast that we're about to kick off here in a moment or two. Before we get going, though, I just want to, for those of you that don't know what the Hope Project is, I just wanted to give you a quick little briefing on that. At the Hope Project, we are all about inspiring vision and hope daily through our posts, through videos, and podcasts like this one. So if you haven't ever checked us out, feel free to check us out on social media and online. And yeah, I just want to say we are super excited for you to join us for this podcast. And like I said, at the Hope Project, we are all about inspiring hope and vision. And that is as you go and live out your calling that God has given you in life, or maybe as you try and figure out what God has for you in life. That's what we are here for, is to help you figure those out and help you dive deeper into that. Because at the end of the day, we want you to be getting the most out of your God-given potential that the Lord has placed in your life and has called you to do. So like I said, that's what you're here about at the Hope Project, inspiring hope and inspiring vision every single day in your lives. Thank you guys so much for checking out all the content we have here with the Hope Project. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. My name is Keagan Jewell, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. It is episode 1, everybody, of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keagan Jewell. Let's get to it. What is going on, everybody? Like I said, my name is Keagan Jewell, and I will be most of the time giving us the rundown for these Monday Motivation Podcasts. Just a little bit about me before we get going into it. I am 22, just recently graduated from Nebraska Christian College in Omaha, Nebraska, and am currently, serving in a church with their junior high, as well as working full-time as an Amazon delivery driver, essentially. So that's me, and let's get to it. A little bit for this first podcast episode. I just want to kind of give a little bit of background on why we're doing this podcast, which also will fit into the topic of the morning, which is knowing your why, which we'll get into in a little bit. But here's the thing. Here is the why behind this podcast, all right? I am part of the Hope Project. I have been for a couple months now. And when I started, it was to be in charge of the Monday motivations. And at the time, we would do a lot of just videos, short little blurbs of, different people like myself or Joey McKernan or different speakers that we've got here in Omaha that we know of, or other, maybe not even speakers, but just even other people we know that are living out their calling, just to give an encouragement of what they've learned as they've grown in their calling and the advice they have for that, which is going great. Don't get me wrong, those were going great. But sometimes you do things that are just more of getting your foot in the door, and that's what those were. And we realized if we wanted to continue growing and continue to giving you guys the proper motivation on a Monday, we needed to do something more, which is where the podcast came from. So really the why behind this podcast is to help every listener out there be able to walk away from listening to this, whether it is on your car ride to work every Monday morning, or maybe you're at a job that you can listen to it during your workday. Whenever it is, our hope is every Monday we're going to have one of these come out. And we choose Monday because, I love it that Joey just did a poll on his Instagram saying, who else loves Monday? And, not surprising to me, there were a lot of people that said, no, I hate Mondays. And I don't like that. I want you guys to see Monday as a way to kick off your week right. And so that's why the Monday Motivation Podcast is going on. Because every Monday, like I said, we'll be putting out new content, whether it's a talk with myself, or we've got some with Joey, or a couple interviews even, that we are going to be talking about either encouragements or ways to live out your calling, or those interviews will be with people that as they're living out their calling, they've learned different things that can help others, because our goal is any of you out there that are trying to figure out what you are called to do in life, our hope is that this podcast does that for you. And maybe you're out there and you know what you're called to do, you just don't know how to really step into that or step into that further. And my hope is that what we talk about on this podcast helps you in that. So really, the why behind this podcast is for you to listen and grow further in your calling, or maybe figure out your calling, because that is such a huge thing that we're a part of here at the Hope Project, is giving hope and helping give vision and direction in life. So like I said, that is the why behind this. And it fits so well with what I talked to you guys about today, which is knowing your why. And what I mean by that is, I've heard it put this way: when you know why you're doing something, the how and the what becomes so much easier. So for instance, with this podcast, why we wanted to create it is to allow people to have something that they can consistently hear and listen to help grow in their calling, or figure out what that calling is and what they're supposed to do in life. So that's our why. Now that I know why we're making this podcast and why we want to do this podcast, I can look, okay, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to create content each week. I'm going to come out with topics and interviews each week for that. The how, I look at the how as kind of these big picture topics. If it was you're sitting in a class and taking notes, these would be like the main topics kind of okay, how, and then the what are these action steps. How am I going to do this? Create content, make interviews. Okay, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to make a podcast. I'm going to record these topics being talked about, whether it's myself or Joey, or maybe someone even else on our Hope Project team coming in and doing that. I'll also be interviewing other people that I know of in life or hear about in life that have lived their calling or are working towards living that calling out, and have different things that they can talk about. Because like I said, when you know your why, the how and the what becomes so much easier for that. And so that's the thing I want you guys to do today after listening to this. If you're driving right now and you can't, I don't want you to, type out a note as you're driving. When you get a chance today, ask yourself this question and write it down somewhere where you'll see it. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Or even under that, also write, or why do I want to do what I'm wanting to do? Because here's the thing, when you know why you're doing something, for instance, like I said, I chose junior high, I chose youth ministry to be a part of. Why? The why is because I love that age group, and that those are the years I was impacted the most by God and helped figure out where I wanted to go in life and what I wanted to do in life. That's my why. How am I going to do that? Build relationships with students. All right. Build trust with students. Be involved in a church. Okay, what am I going to do with that? Build relationships. I'm going to hang out with them outside of just our services. I'm going to go to their events, go to their games, go to different things, take them out to lunch, small things like that, being a part of their lives, asking them how their life is going, asking how their families are doing, praying for them, praying over them when I can. These are the things that I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, how and what am I going to do? And so that's really the action step from this week's podcast, is write down one of those questions or both of those questions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Or why do I want to do what I'm wanting to do? And really let that guide you in your decisions this week. Especially if you're in a spot where you are doing what you want to do, figure out those next steps by asking the how am I going to accomplish this more? What am I going to do to further that and go further in that calling? Because when you do that, those are the times where you're able to operate in what God's wanting you to do and created you to do, and you feel that joy and that excitement. And maybe you're someone that doesn't know what you're doing or why you want to do something. Answer that question, why do I want to do what I'm wanting to do? And if you don't know that, sit and go, okay, God, what do you have for me? Just asking that. Say, God, begin to reveal to me what you have for me. Begin to look at your life and things you do. Maybe it's not something that you feel like you're called to do or supposed to be doing, but you can really learn a lot by just asking that question where you're at. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Right now, my full-time job, like I said, I'm a delivery driver for Amazon. Is it something that I know I'm called to do? Not long term, but right now I know I'm called to do it. That why is because, it pays the bills. Sometimes it's as simple as that. I need something to pay the bills, and that's what I've got for me. So like I said, I don't want you to think that this why has to be some huge spiritual Jesus answer. Sometimes it can be just as simple, because sometimes we're called to things short term, like myself in that position of, you know what, I've got a full-time job, I'm working. It's not a long-term calling, but where I'm at in life, that's where God's called me to be for a reason. Why is that? Because like I said, I need something to pay the bills. And it still allows me to be a part of the community that I'm serving alongside of at church. So I just want to encourage you guys to be able to do that. Ask, why am I doing what I'm doing? Or why do I want to do what I'm doing? And maybe it's answering both of those. But by doing that, you'll really be able to see and flesh out, okay, this is why I'm doing it. What can I do to do it better? How can I do it better? Or even how can I move towards something that God has called me to even more long term? Like I said, I hope that helps. And like I said, these podcasts are going to be ones, we want to keep them short, but also I just want it to be where you guys are hearing what you want to hear. So if you have any topics that you are like, man, Keagan, I really would love to hear you talk about this or your thoughts on this, feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'll put my Instagram thing in the bio, in the description of this podcast, and it's at Keagan_Drew. But, I really want to hear from you guys, or if you know of someone that may be great to interview, just let me know, reach out to me, ask questions, and feel free to check us out, like I said, on Instagram and on Facebook, and check out our website for the Hope Project. But I'm sorry, that is all the time that we've got for this week. Thank you for checking out episode 1 of the Monday Motivation Podcast with myself, Keagan Jewell. Get ready. Every single Monday, guys, we're coming out with a new content, new episode, and they're going to be short. They're going to be packed full of stuff, but you know what? They're going to be great stuff, and every single week, there will be something for you to take away from it, going, I know how to take this and use it for the rest of my week. Because like we said, Mondays are a great way to start off your week, even if we may not feel like it. So thank you guys again. Have a great Monday. Have a blessed week, and go out and kill it, guys. I love each and every one of you. Continue to go out and live out your God-given potential. Thank you guys again for checking out this week's episode of Monday Motivation Podcast with Keagan Jewell. Like I said, if you want to know more about the Hope Project and what we are all about, feel free to check out our website, thehopeprojectreal.com, or even check us out on Instagram at thehopeprojectreal. Tune in next week. We've got a great interview with the man who made this whole thing happen, Joey McKernan. It's a great interview, some great things to take from it. So like I said, thank you again for checking out this week's episode of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keagan Jewell. Again, I cannot say enough how much I love you all, and I hope you all have a great week, and we'll catch you next week on the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keagan Jewell.